NFL grass. From the outside, it doesn't look like much, but when looking into its history, you start to realize this is actually an ongoing issue since the 1960s in the NFL and still is a debated topic today. Should the NFL stay with grass? Well, in today's video, we'll be discussing whether the NFL should stay with grass or fully replace it with the modern astroturf. So I'll be discussing the pros and the cons of both grass and astroturf and giving my verdict on which is better. With that, I hope you guys enjoy the video and I hope you guys like the topic I'm discussing today, and it's kind of different than the average video I'll be doing on here, so I hope you guys can get some informative value and some entertainment value with it. So if you like this kind of video, then drop a like, as it's much appreciated, and if you have not subscribed to this channel, I recommend you do so, as I am posting videos twice a week and I cover all things NFL. So if you're into the NFL, then you should hit that subscribe button so you can keep up with all the content I post and to be the first to see it. And with all that out of the way, onto the video. AstroTurf, or otherwise known as artificial turf, has evolved and changed over the course of 50 plus years and has started to look more like real grass. When looking at both fields side by side, they looked almost exactly the same from the outside, but that's where the similarities end, as I feel as AstroTurf and regular grass is the complete opposite. But before we start comparing, let's talk about AstroTurf. Artificial turf was originally created 57 years ago in 1962 by a company called Chemstrand. They wanted to find a good alternative to natural grass due to grass being so unplayable in bad weather like snow and rain. So from 1962 to 1966, Chemstrand worked on making a solution and made a surface similar to grass but not have the downsides of weather and wear and tear. And finally in 1966, the new turf has been completed and was officially called Chemgrass. So this company managed to actually get its new turf on the Moses Brown School in Providence, Rhode Island. That was when it was first used. However, on that same year, it was officially able to be used in professional sports and was first implemented on a large scale in a new baseball stadium built by Judge Roy Hofheinz, named the Astrodome in Houston, Texas. The name later changed from Chemgrass to AstroTurf. John A. Wotman was the guy who supposedly came up with the name, but it's not certain. But the name was changed because of the Astrodome and the team, the Houston Astros. Now, football gets this kind of treatment as well, because in that same year, the new AstroTurf was implemented by the Oilers of the AFL. Put the new turf in and makes sense because, you know, Astros and Oilers both in Houston, yeah. But due to some controversy, the AstroTurf was not played on until September 14th, 1968, where the first NFL game on AstroTurf happened between the Miami Dolphins and the Houston Oilers, where the Dolphins ended up winning 24-10. The 1970s was a decade of growth for the new AstroTurf, as both the Kansas City Chiefs installed it and the Buffalo Bills did as well, and in 1974 the Super Bowl was actually played on the new surface. Throughout the next 20 years, the popularity of AstroTurf started getting more noticed and more controversy. Throughout the 1990s, there have been a lot of injuries happening and being connected to AstroTurf. Now, for those who never really played on or been on real AstroTurf, it's not really soft at all, and of course as time goes on it does start to get a little better, but back in the 1990s it was hard as concrete. With that downside, it had the upside of allowing players to run faster and don't have to wear cleats. The best example I could give of a team thriving on AstroTurf is the 1999 Rams. Now, I did make a video discussing the Rams, and if you want a full story of the Rams, I have a link in the card on top right of your screen, so you can watch the video. I recommend you watch it, it's pretty good. Anyways, the Rams had managed to make a solid offense that thrived off the surface and made them a high-flying offensive team, but as soon as they started playing on regular turf, they sucked and struggled a bit. They are not the only case here, as in 1998 Vikings also showed the same success, and that 2007 Patriots team also used AstroTurf. The point is that AstroTurf has been getting bigger and bigger as time progresses, and over half of the NFL teams use artificial turf, and the idea of using regular turf is fading out. But is AstroTurf really better than natural grass? Let's discuss their pros and cons. Now let's talk about the pros about AstroTurf, and a big one I want to mention is the maintenance or lack of maintenance required. You don't need to cut it because it does not grow. You don't have to worry about weeds and does not need to be watered or fertilized, as its grass cannot die because, you know, it's not real. So you don't have to spend even more money replacing it every year when it dies or be replaced after the winter. The so-called grass will stay the same consistency and thickness all throughout the year and don't have to use dyes and paints to make it look nice or make the bounds of the field. So overall, the price is cheaper for having AstroTurf in the long run versus having a natural grass field. Another pro that should be mentioned but can be known as a double-edged sword is the fact that it's safe. Now, the new artificial artificial turf nowadays has a material in it called polypropylene, which minimizes friction between its surface and someone's skin. There has been research on it and has proven to cause less friction than regular grass, and it's also safer in the rain and cannot get ripped up or muddy. The last one I want to mention is connected with another point I made earlier about safety, but when using astroturf, the whole field is consistent. There are no holes or dead spots in the turf because it's all made the same, and the players even get injured on the field itself, so that's another big plus. The cons of artificial turf are also very relevant as well, so let's go over them. The first one I want to mention is the heat. Now, the surface does protect it from rain, but the fibers of the surface that make the surface heat up really easily when it gets hot. In some cases, it can go up to 20 to 30 degrees hotter than the original temperature in the air, which is completely nuts. Another big con I want to mention, the fact that the surface itself is very hard and it's like concrete. So if someone lands the wrong way when making something like a contested catch or even a basic tackle, it will hurt, which can allow for many injuries. Now, this is considered unconfirmed, but there are injuries linked to artificial turf. Players like Drew Brees and Marshawn Lynch have suffered both shoulder and leg injuries while playing on astroturf. Now, of course, there are far more examples, but I don't need to make this video any longer than it needs to be. The point is that you guys understand the point of injuries connected to astroturf, and also it explains why I said it was a double-edged sword. Now that we have all the facts, now it's time to answer the question: should grass be fully replaced by astroturf? The answer to that question is no. Although there are many perks to having astroturf, I don't think it should fully replace grass. I think that some stadiums should stay with grass because I think it'll keep the original value of some places, like historically, you know? Places like Soldier Field and Lambeau Field should stay with grass, and if the league goes full astroturf, then I think part of the idea of football will vanish, the whole gritty feel of the sport, and I personally don't think that should go away. Also, astroturf is in a way somewhat linked with injuries, but more than half of the stadiums in the NFL use astroturf or artificial turf, and more are coming in 2020. But as long as there are some grass fields, I don't really have a problem with astroturf. Plus, a lot of players actually like using grass as well, so overall, I don't think grass should be fully replaced. Alright everybody, that marks the end of this video. If you guys like this video, then drop a like and show some support. I know this is not really my style of video, but I would like to know your opinion of this kind of video in the comment section below, and if you have not subscribed to the channel already, I recommend you do so, as I post twice a week and it's all about the NFL. So if you like NFL, then subscribe, and thank you all for watching this video, and I'll see you next time. Have a good day.